Hello and welcome. My name is Space Muffin, and this is the Void Playground. And today we have a little bit of a somber episode, but also kind of a happy episode in a lot of ways. For those of you who do not know, Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball, he's also worked on a lot of the art design for games like Dragon Quest and Chrono Trigger. He passed away on March the 1st. They had a private funeral for him, and then today, which is March the 8th, they publicly announced, that he had passed away. So this podcast today that we're going to be doing is to obviously honor and celebrate, the life of Akira Toriyama, one of the all-time greats. I think most people, when you look at everything from Street Fighter to, a lot of modern animes and just the influences are just nonstop with this guy. This guy inspired a whole generation and brought a whole generation to, anime. Obviously, there's so many people that grew up watching and reading Dragon Ball, and so yeah. So just real quick, JD, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, besides getting the bad news last night about his passing. Um, of like like everyone in here, where I'm such a fan of his. Dragon Ball Z was one of my first animated series I watched on Cartoon Network. So seeing a legend like him gone, yeah, it's really sad.
Yeah. What about Jumpman? Jumpman, how are you doing today, man?
Oh, good. Yeah. Um, I've not unfortunately watched Dragon Ball. Um, I've I've been unfortunately, but I am aware of the cultural impact, even just not having watched it. I'm aware of
Absolutely,
its
man.
impact.
I think that that just shows, right? His cultural impact, Akira Toriyama, has been so vast and so great that people who aren't even fans of Dragon Ball, like they feel those ripples. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, Jumpman, you mentioned you got the chance to meet some of the voice actors in Dragon Ball Z, right? Or who'd you
Yeah.
meet?
Yeah, I've met Sean Schemmel, the voice of Goku. These are the current voices in Dragon Ball, like Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super.
Okay.
Um, anyway, Sean Schemmel voices Goku. I've also met Christopher Sabat that voices Vegeta and Piccolo, and I've also met Kyle Hebert that voices Son Gohan.
Wow. Wow, that's incredible, man.
So
And in each one of these people, it's interesting. They say that we're all 8 people away from knowing anybody in the world. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And so it's like, it's weird. It's like a bizarre feeling that you get because he was 68 years old, and that's not exactly young, right? Oh wow, Jumpman, yeah, showing
oh
the
yeah,
signatures on YouTube.
yeah. I even have this Dragon Ball Z.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, signed by Goku.
But I was saying, like, 68 isn't
Yeah,
exactly like it's not exactly young, right? But I mean, relatively speaking, I mean, he went too soon, and like I said, he left behind not just like I said with Dragon Ball, but just with the influence of everything, and then of course Doctor Slump. For those of you who are manga fans or manga, as some pronounce it, and then of course the Dragon Quest series. I mean, legendary series. For those of you who don't know what Dragon Quest is, it's kind of the okay. So Street Fighter, and then there's like King of Fighters, right? And there's Final Fantasy, and there's Dragon Quest. That's kind of how I like to put it.
Mhm.
You know, but I mean, just that very distinct art style that he has that has been just prevalent. You know what I mean? And as we mentioned, the influences. Chrono Trigger, like I mentioned, he did the art design on that, and
okay.
legendary game. I mean, for the Super, I think it came out for Super Nintendo, but it was also ported to others. I think, yeah, PlayStation and all that other stuff. So, I mean, growing up, and this is just and JD, I'll kind of let you kind of touched on this, but growing up, I remember obviously Pokemon had come to America, but Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z, like those were the two that I remember growing up with, and I remember like being like I couldn't wait. I was obsessed with every episode. I was just it was an unhealthy obsession with this series, even to this day. You know what I mean? Like you don't once you go Dragon Ball, you never go back. It's and there's the theme of just persistence, right, and determination throughout the whole series. But like from literally a kid, however old I was, 8 years old or whatever, to now being an adult, it's like I've always been consuming Dragon Ball. I've either been playing the games, I've been watching the movies, I've been, obviously there's the Dragon Ball Z Kai. Like there's so much to this world, and then things like that. So JD, let me ask you this: what's kind of your story? What is your, kind of growing up with Dragon Ball and things like that? Like how has that influenced your life?
So seeing like you space weapon, for me growing up watching anime such as like Sailor Moon, Inuyasha, Yu Yu Hakusho, Dragon Ball Z was also one of them as well that I watched constantly on Cartoon Network. And it had so basically besides Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z was my intro into anime. And back then as a kid, I didn't know what anime was. I thought it was just regular cartoons. I didn't know what anime was. I didn't know what like animation or anything like that was. And I thought Dragon Ball Z was created here in the States, by American studios. Until later on, when I grew up, I found out that there are like studios in Japan that create like the shows that we grew up watching. But after that, like around middle school, I stopped watching Dragon Ball Z. I just started watching the old reruns from when we were a kid. I did play some of the games, but to me, Dragon Ball Z fell off for a while because it just felt too repetitive. I don't know, like I just lost interest in it. But now that the passing happened, I think I'm gonna go back and start rewatching the ones that we watched as a kid, and then afterwards following suit with the ones that I missed out on.
Let me give some recommendations for everybody. So obviously you have the manga, the series from 84 to 95. But if you're going to watch Dragon Ball, they have the Dragon Ball series, you can buy it or you can watch it on one of the streaming services. But as far as Dragon Ball Z goes, I recommend watching Dragon Ball Z Kai. And the reason why is because Dragon Ball Z Kai removes all the filler. And there are a couple artistic touches that they do, but and then if you're a super duper crazy fan, you could watch Dragon Ball Z, which originally aired from 89 to 96. So Jumpman, you were born in 89, weren't you?
Yeah.
So the year, like we had an amazing year in 1989. We had Jumpman being born. We had the debut of the Dragon Ball Z anime, right? In Japan, and so lots of cool stuff, and then so yeah, once you've watched those, then maybe go on to watch Super. And let's talk about repetitiveness for a second. We're gonna say Jumpman?
Oh, I was just gonna say another thing that happened in '89 was the start of The Simpsons. The very first episode came out in '89.
That's right. '89 was a big year for life.
Yeah, unless you count the Tracy Ullman shorts.
So no, JD, and we were talking about a little bit about wrestling, last time, kind of jokingly, and it kind of has the same vibe where there's these stories, and but for me, Dragon Ball, I think I understand like where Z gets a little, because of the filler and things like that, but when you watch it without the filler. When you watch it's that story of like never giving up, the story of persistence, always improving, becoming stronger. And then, Goku, the American version of Goku, and he, the way he's portrayed, it's like he even the most evil of people, right? Frieza, Vegeta has literally genocided entire planets, right? Entire groups of people. And like Goku like finds it in his heart to forgive him. Frieza, same way. Like, Frieza, and he's just we all aspire to kind of be like Goku. And I know there's a lot of humor and things like that in there,
Just for me, like what made it repetitive, and also things that like the filler episodes were a bit too long, and then on top of that, like the fight scenes went on for, the meme, like the joke that like Dragon Ball Z episodes take at least 20 episodes to finish a fight. So that including with the fillers, I was just like, I'm a little over it,
Well, and this might be a good time, like I said, to revisit it,
Yeah, because back then when we were kids, we couldn't skip these episodes and go straight to the main storyline. But now with streaming services and other types of websites out there, not saying anything, but streaming services, but we could skip the fillers altogether,
Yeah, I went through all of Kai, like I binge watched Kai, but or not Kai, but Super. But Kai, like I said, start with Kai. Kai is a very lean version of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. We're gonna say, John, man?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was gonna add on to what JD was saying about the streaming services, because that was kind of the thing with me as a kid. I didn't really watch anime only because it was hard to keep up because you have to watch it in order, and it was hard for me to make sure I caught up to every episode as a kid. But now with streaming services, it's super easy. So if we had streaming services back in the 90s like we do now, it probably would have made my life a whole lot easier.
It would have been great. So let's talk about some of the video games. So there was obviously Ultimate Battle 22. A lot of the games weren't really like super duper amazing, but a list of some of the really good ones. I would say obviously Xenoverse is really good, but if you get the chance, play Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3.
Oh, that was good.
That one is, to this day, probably, in my opinion, the best Dragon Ball game. There is Tenkaichi 3, and they are making another Tenkaichi game, which I might check out. But the Tenkaichi games are fun, but Budokai 3, in my opinion, was it just hit all the sweet spots really right, and the characters felt powerful. They felt like that. There is the hyper competitive version of Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Fighters, which
Dragon Ball Fighters Z.
Yeah, a lot of people would say that game is the definitive Dragon Ball game. I think visually it is, but I think Budokai 3 still, and I think Budokai 3 is just a better game, a better Dragon Ball game. I'll put it that way. There is Kakarot that came out. I haven't played that one. I hear it's pretty good. So, and then there's the older ones, the classics, Legacy of Goku, stuff like that. But if you haven't played any of the Dragon Ball games, maybe play either Xenoverse 2 or Kakarot or Budokai 3 if you can get your hands on it. And then if you really like those games, maybe expand your horizons. But I'm excited for the new Tenkaichi game that's coming out. I'm definitely probably going to pick that one up. But yeah, guys, I mean, kind of going back to, the influence, right? I was watching Creed 3, and like, it's funny, like that movie, it's part of the Rocky series, but like, it has like anime influences, you know what I mean? Like, which is the camera angles that they do and some of the effects that they do.
Michael B. Jordan even came out in an interview saying that the influence is through anime.
Yeah, and so it's really cool, and for me, like I said, this it's sad, but it's also we're able to take a look back at this guy's life and look at like how things have really affected us, and then Jumpman, like I said, he got to meet people whose lives were directly affected by this man's work. You know what I mean? Which is that's pretty cool. So, anyways, guys, that's pretty much all I have to say. But I don't know, JD, do you want to do some closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts is my thoughts and prayers go out to his family. It's really sad that he had to pass away so soon. But hopefully he's in a better place now, and his family could mourn and just basically cherish the memories that they had of him, and hopefully they can move on. And yeah, so my condolences to the family and everyone else
Condolences,
out
yeah.
there. Yeah, he changed a whole generation, and thank you so much for his work.
Jumpman, any closing thoughts?
But I'm gonna plan on binge watching Dragon Ball Z. I have plenty of friends that watch anime, Dragon Ball, and I'm probably binge watching it with my roommate. He's gonna guide me through it, I guess you could say.
Good. That's really
And
good.
I guess for his passing, I guess may his power be over 9,000.
100%, man. 100%.
Yes.
Condolences to the family, guys. And look,
Yeah.
this has been another episode of the Void Playground. Please visit us at thevoid.gg and let us know what you guys want to see in future episodes. But if you haven't, watch the Dragon Ball series, give it a shot, and you're going to get obsessed. You're going to get obsessed very quickly. So
Skip all the fillers, then go straight to the main storyline. There you go.
I will keep that in mind.
yeah, like I said, if you watch Dragon Ball Z Kai, it doesn't have any filler in it. I don't know about they haven't made like a Dragon Ball version of Kai, but Dragon Ball Z Kai strips away the filler, and there are some a couple visual changes. So, but cool, guys. I will let you guys go. You guys have a great rest of your day, and yeah, condolences to the family, and yeah, thank you so much.
See ya.
Bye bye.